You ever notice how shoes tell the truth about people? You can lie with your face, lie with your voice, but shoes carry your weight. They show where you've been. So when I first saw them, two pale blue Converse, unlaced, sitting side by side on the muddy bank like someone had taken them off politely before going for a swim, I felt sick. Because I knew the girl who wore them, and she didn't swim. She ran. It was a Thursday, late spring, that weird time when the sun is warm enough to trick you into shorts, but the wind still has winter in its breath. The air along the Bucklow River that morning smelled of algae and rust, like something old was waking up. The current was slow, still swollen from the rains a week before, and the water had that grayish tint that made everything underneath look deeper than it really was. Police tape fluttered between two cypress trees. Someone had tied it too low, and it drooped like a warning with its spine broken. And there, maybe 20 feet from the edge, those shoes. No footprints, no drag marks, no blood, just shoes, and the growing dread that something didn't add up. Her name was Maya Ward, 17, too smart for the town she lived in, too bold for the people who ran it. The kind of girl who wrote poems in the margins of her history textbook and always smelled faintly of spearmint and charcoal pencil. She wore black eyeliner, chipped nail polish, and carried a vintage tape recorder everywhere like she was documenting the end of the world one whisper at a time. Her mom said she was too sensitive. Her teachers said she was too angry. But Maya didn't scare easy. She didn't fit, sure, but she wasn't about to disappear. I remember the first time I saw her. Library, Wednesday afternoon, rain tapping the windows like it wanted in. She was sitting cross-legged on the floor in the poetry aisle, reading and sexting out loud to herself like the words were medicine. She glanced up, caught me watching, and didn't flinch. Just said, "Ever feel like your body's a costume someone picked out for you without asking?" It was the strangest introduction I'd ever had, and the most honest. I nodded. We've been close ever since. 3 days before the shoes showed up by the river, Maya sent me a voicemail at 2:13 a.m. She never called that late unless it was important. The message was short, breathy, like she'd been running. "Something's off," she whispered. "I think I found something. I can't talk, but I'm not crazy, okay? I know what I saw." Then, static, a faint mechanical hum, and what sounded like wind chimes. She didn't pick up the next morning, or the next afternoon. By Saturday night, her mom filed a missing person report. Sunday, they found her shoes. Harrow Ridge isn't the kind of town that handles mystery well. People like closure, neat endings, funeral casseroles, the illusion of control. So when the sheriff's office found the Converse by the water, the town made up its mind before the evidence caught up. She drowned, ran off in a moment of crisis, slipped, fell. Tragic. They even had a vigil. Candles, prayers, posters taped to telephone poles. Her mom cried so hard she vomited. But I knew Maya. She hated water, couldn't even stand baths, took showers cold, and more than that, she would never leave without her recorder. But the recorder was gone. A week before she vanished, Maya and I sat under the pedestrian bridge near the old cannery. She had a bag of stale gummy worms, and I had a bottle of store-brand lemonade that tasted like regret. She said something that stuck with me. "I think there's something wrong with this place," she murmured, tracing the rim of her recorder with a bitten fingernail. "Like what?" I asked. She looked around, then leaned close. "Like there's a story no one's telling. Something old, buried, but it's still humming." Humming, Maya nodded. "Like a machine left running in an empty room. You don't hear it at first, but once you do, you can't unhear it." I thought she was being poetic. Now I'm not so sure. When the coroner's report came back, it was supposed to be the final word. Except it wasn't. Because the autopsy said Maya didn't drown. No water in her lungs. No bruising consistent with a fall or impact. No drugs. No alcohol. In fact, her cause of death was undetermined. But here's what was in the report. A small burn mark behind her left ear. Trace amounts of metal in her hair. Microabrasions on her inner forearms, as if she'd been restrained, lightly but repeatedly. And this, her vocal cords were bruised, as if someone had kept her quiet for a long time. The town moved on faster than I thought it would. They blamed stress, teenage impulse, maybe suicide, even though there was no water in her lungs. No suicide note, no explanation. Some people even whispered that Maya was always unstable, that she probably just snapped. Others, quietly, said it wasn't suicide, but they didn't push, Because pushing means peering into something ugly, something the town didn't want to see. But I pushed. Because I couldn't not. Because of that voicemail. Because of the way her shoes were placed. Because something about the river was lying. Harrow Ridge has a history. Not the kind they put in brochures or local museum plaques. I mean the kind they don't talk about. Back in the 1960s, there were disappearances. For girls in 5 years. All between 16 and 20. All with no trace. Locals chalked it up to the highway. Said they probably hitched rides and ran off. But Maya knew that wasn't true. She'd been digging through old police logs, town archives, obituaries, and she found patterns, dates, coordinates, a strange symbol etched into the bottom corner of the missing reports. 3 intersecting rings, like a broken compass. She drew it in her notebook over and over. The last page just said, "It's still happening." 3 days after the autopsy report, a janitor at the public library found something wedged behind the air vent in the poetry aisle. It was Maya's recorder, still running, still ticking. The tape inside was damaged, scratched, warped, but parts of it were salvageable. I listened to it in my car, parked by the river, engine off, hands shaking. Her voice crackled through the static. "Found it, under the old bridge, symbols match. There's a door. God, I think it's a door." A metallic clang. Footsteps. Fast. Then Maya, whispering, "If I don't make it out, if someone finds this, don't believe the water. It's a lie. It's always been a lie." Then a low hum. Mechanical. Rhythmic. And something else. Breathing. Not hers. Something wet and heavy and wrong. Then silence. The night I listened to the tape, I drove straight to the old pedestrian bridge where we'd last talked. Half of it's collapsed now, cordoned off with a rusty "Do Not Cross" sign and flaking hazard tape. I went anyway. Moonlight made the river look like spilled ink. I climbed down the embankment, flashlight in one hand, tape recorder in the other. And I found it. A photograph, pinned beneath a stone like someone wanted it to be found. It was grainy, color faded, but I recognized her. Maya, standing in the woods. Alone, eyes wide. And behind her, barely visible in the shadows. Something tall, twisted, with a shape that didn't make sense. Like a man with too many joints. Or a shadow wearing skin. I should have gone home. Should have handed the photo to the sheriff. Burned the tape. Buried the shoes. Pretended this was over. But I can't. Because Maya saw something. Because she knew something. And whatever it was, it's still here. Humming beneath the town. Watching the river. Waiting. Maya Ward's shoes were found by the Bucklow River. Neatly placed. Not tossed. Not dragged. And yet, she didn't drown. Her lungs were dry. Her throat bruised. Her eyes open when they found her. She'd left behind a tape recorder, filled with warnings, whispers, and a single plea. Don't believe the water. The flashlight flickers. Not the batteries. Something else. Like the darkness is hungry here. I'm under the pedestrian bridge again. Same place Maya mentioned in the tape. Wind cuts sideways through the trees. Sharp. Slicing. It smells like iron and wet bark. In my pocket is the photograph. Maya standing in the woods, frozen mid-step, wide-eyed. Behind her, something impossible. I step carefully, one boot after the other. Dirt here is soft, spongy, like it's been holding secrets too long. Then I see it. 3 symbols carved into the concrete base of the bridge. 3 interlocking rings. Just like Maya drew in her notebook. She showed me that notebook in her basement, 2 weeks before she disappeared. We sat on a mattress covered in stickers and spilled ink. Incense smoke curled lazily through the air, lavender and something bitter underneath. Maya pointed to the sketch. This symbol, it's old. Pre-Christian. Celtic, maybe. But it keeps showing up. Town archives, missing reports, even church registers from the 1800s. Why would churches use a symbol like that? I asked. She looked up at me, eyes burning like coals in a storm. Because churches aren't always holy. Sometimes they're masks. At the base of the bridge, there's a slab of concrete that doesn't match the rest. It's too smooth, too clean. I crouch, run my fingers across it. There's a groove. Shallow, just wide enough for a nail. I press. It clicks. The slab shifts an inch, then drops. Dust billows out, thick and damp. Smells like rot and forgotten things. A staircase spirals downward. Pitch black. Every bone in my body says, turn back. But Maya didn't turn back. And if I don't go down, no one will ever know what took her. I remember her voice from that last night we talked. She'd been restless. pacing, wearing that oversized army jacket with safety pins on the cuffs. They'll make it look clean, she muttered. They always do. Neat endings. She drowned. But it's not watered down there. Not really. I tried to reason with her. Maya, you're scaring me. Good, she snapped. Then softened. Maybe scared people listen better. I descend. Each step creaks under my weight, even though the staircase is concrete. It's too quiet. My flashlight catches fragments. Broken tiles, a rusted plaque with no words, claw marks. Deep, uneven, fresh. My breath echoes. My skin feels tight, like the walls are shrinking. Then I hear it. A hum. Low. Constant. Mechanical. Just like Maya said. It sounds like a distant engine. Or a generator running beneath the floorboards of a dream. And then, footsteps. Not mine. At the bottom of the stairs is a door. Not modern. Not even recent. It's made of ironwood, swollen from moisture, but still sealed shut. Across it, scratched in jagged letters. What was taken will not stay buried. I reach for the handle. It burns. Not metaphorically, literally. Like something behind the door knows I'm here. I pull my hand back. Then I hear her voice again. Maya. But not from behind the door. From my recorder. I didn't press play. Her voice crackles, faint. If you found this, you're already inside. Don't open the first door. The first door is a lie. Maya once told me Harrow Ridge wasn't built by accident. She said the streets, the town square, even the river's path, it all followed a pattern. Like veins leading back to a heart, she whispered. What heart? I asked. The old church, she said. But not the one above ground. The one underneath. She believed there was a hidden structure beneath the town, older than any building above it. Buried and forgotten after a fire in 1911. They called it a lightning strike, she said. But nothing burns stone unless it wants to. I step back from the door. Look around. There's another passage. Narrow, half covered by vines and mold. This one isn't humming. I squeeze through. The walls here are wet. Breathing, almost. They pulse faintly under my fingers. I reach a small room. Empty, except for a table. And on that table, her recorder. Not mine. Hers. The one that was missing. And next to it, a notebook. Maya's notebook. But the pages are torn out. Every last one. Except the final one. It reads. I saw them. They were faces. But they're not people. They feed on forgetting. On silence. On erasure. Below that, the water isn't the hiding place. It's the cover story. Then, in a shaky hand. If you hear the second hum, run. A month before she vanished, Maya showed up at the town hall meeting. She wasn't on the agenda, but she took the floor anyway. Held up old reports. Newspaper clippings. Drawings. The room shifted. Grew tense. Sheriff Briggs stood up. Miss Ward, that's enough. But Maya didn't back down. Her voice cracked, but she said it anyway. You know what's under this town. You've all known. And you keep feeding it stories to erase. But I'm not letting you bury me too. They escorted her out. I remember her face as they dragged her toward the exit. Defiant. Terrified. Free. It starts softly. Lower than the first. Not mechanical. Organic. Like an animal dreaming. Like breathing and grinding gears had a child. The second hum. The one Maya warned about. It's behind me. I don't turn. I run. My feet pound the stone floor. Air rushes past me in sudden gusts, unnatural and sharp. The hum rises. Walls blur. My flashlight flickers again, then dies completely. In the pitch black, I feel it behind me. Not touching, but close enough to steal heat. A shape. Wrong angles. Moving faster than anything should underground. I trip. Hit the floor hard. The recorder flies out of my hand. Skids. Lands beneath an archway etched with that cursed symbol. 3 interlocking rings. The hum stops. Everything goes quiet. Too quiet. Then, a voice. Not Maya's. A man's. Raspy. Too calm. You shouldn't be here. I scramble up. Who are you? No answer. Only the sound of footsteps. Slow. Deliberate. Then, it doesn't matter what you think you know. She wasn't the first. He steps into the faint glow of emergency light overhead. Tall. Gray jacket. Badly shaved. His eyes. They don't focus right. Like he's looking at 2 realities at once. She found the threshold. But she wouldn't listen. What threshold? I ask. He smiles, but it doesn't reach his eyes. The place where memory goes to die. He tells me the truth. Or a truth. That under Harrow Ridge is a structure older than the town. built by settlers who claimed visions from the river god. But it wasn't a god. It was something else. Something hungry. They fed it stories. People. Memory. Each generation, they chose one girl. One story to erase. Not kill. Erase. No tombstone. No headline. Just a whisper that fades. People forget, he says. It's easier than remembering what hurts. I ask him, what happened to Maya? He doesn't answer. Just gestures to a hatch on the floor. A faint glow leaks from the edges. She walked through the threshold. That's all I can say. And if I open it? He hesitates. Then you better really want to know the truth. I stare at the hatch, my hand on the latch. Everything Maya left behind is pointing here. All the lies, the symbols, the sounds, leading to this final door. But Maya warned me about doors. The first door is a lie. What if this is the second? What if this is the trap? Or worse, what if behind it isn't death, but erasure? The hatch creaks beneath my fingers. And just before I lift it, I hear her voice again. Maya, but not from the recorder. From behind the hatch. She's whispering. She's saying my name. Maya Ward vanished. Her shoes were found by the river. Her lungs were dry. Her voice was bruised. And her final message warned. Don't believe the water. In a tunnel beneath Harrow Ridge, behind a hatch in the dark, I heard her whisper my name. But the real horror? She was never supposed to be remembered. I opened it. I wish I could say I didn't. I wish I could say I paused, turned back, called the police, did the smart thing. But by then, smart didn't matter. Only the truth did. The hatch was heavier than it looked. Cold metal, old hinges groaning like something was waking. Below, a ladder leading down into a shaft of pulsing, amber light. It wasn't natural. It didn't flicker like fire or hum like electricity. It throbbed. I climbed down, one rung at a time. And what I saw, it changed everything. It was a chamber, circular, stone walls covered in symbols, etched by hand, again and again over decades. The floor was dirt, damp, breathing. Along one side, shelves, full of objects, bracelets, broken glasses, diary pages, locks of hair tied in twine, remains, like a museum curated by something that didn't understand humans, only held on to them. But at the center, on a raised platform, Maya, alive. She didn't recognize me at first. Her eyes were vacant, pupils blown wide, her hair matted, lips cracked. I ran to her, saying her name again and again, louder, louder, until something in her snapped back. Her eyes focused. She whispered, "You're not supposed to be here." I pulled her into me. She was cold, but real. "Come on, we're leaving." But she resisted. They don't let people leave. And then we heard them. They weren't ghosts. They weren't exactly people either. More like the echoes of people. Men, women, teens, all half visible, like they were unfinished sketches, paper thin and flickering like bad reception. They stared through us, murmured nonsense, some repeated phrases on loops. I didn't mean to walk that way. Where's my mother? I saw the door. I saw the door. They were the ones who had been taken, swallowed by the water, by the lie. People no one remembered. People erased. I pulled her up. She stumbled. Her legs had forgotten how to move fast. We climbed the ladder together, every step echoing with cries below, cries that weren't all human. As we reached the top, something screamed below. A screech, not of pain, but of fury. The second hum came again, this time louder. And it didn't fade until we sealed the hatch shut and ran. Ran through the tunnel, back through the darkness, back into the night air of Harrow Ridge. Alive. We went to the sheriff's office that night. Maya still trembling. Me talking too fast. Recorder in hand. Notebook pages, photographs, and every piece of evidence we could carry. At first, they didn't believe us. Not until Maya started naming names. Names of other missing girls. Dates. Locations. Details that had never been made public. Then she said a name that changed everything. Deputy Charles Heller. That was the crack in the dam. Deputy Heller was arrested a week later. Not for murder. For obstruction of justice, falsifying reports, and evidence tampering. Turns out, he'd been the one scrubbing details from old case files. Redacting maps. Losing tapes. But he wasn't acting alone. 2 more were arrested after anonymous files were leaked to the press. A retired judge. And Reverend Doyle, the same man who blessed the vigil for Maya just days after she vanished. Publicly, they claimed it was a conspiracy of power and silence, that they were covering up abuse from decades ago. But Maya and I knew the truth was deeper. Not satanic, not cultish, systemic. They were caretakers of forgetting. They didn't kill girls. They buried their stories. 6 months later, Maya stood in court. Hair grown back. Scars still visible. Voice low, but clear. The courtroom was silent as she spoke. I remember what they tried to erase. I remember the room. I remember the things they kept. I remember the faces of people no one looked for. She looked at the reverend. You stood in front of a congregation and prayed while you buried truth beneath our feet. Then she looked at Heller. You didn't kill me. You tried to delete me. But I'm still here. The jury was unanimous. Convictions on all counts. Maya didn't stay in Harrow Ridge. Couldn't. She moved 3 states away. Started school again. Studied journalism. She sends postcards sometimes. They're always unsigned. But I recognize her handwriting. Last one just said, they were wrong. Remembering doesn't hurt half as much as pretending nothing happened. Harrow Ridge tried to forget again. It's what towns do. They tore down the old pedestrian bridge, built a community center over the field behind it, held a ceremony, cut a ribbon, gave away hot dogs. The hatch is still down there. The room too. But now it's sealed, flooded with concrete, covered in silence. Most people think that's enough. But some of us know better. Here's what I learned. Sometimes evil isn't loud. It doesn't scream or wear a mask. Sometimes evil whispers. In empty halls. In dry autopsy reports. In the silence after a missing poster fades. It tells you to stop asking questions. To bury what you know. To believe the water. But stories don't die unless we let them. And forgetting, that's how monsters survive. So if you ever find shoes by a riverbank, don't look at the water. Look at the space just behind it. And ask yourself, who are we supposed to forget?